Welcome back, or welcome for the first time. You are tuning in to the Holistic Health and Revolutionary Show, where if you take just one lesson or inspiration away each and every time we come together, if you apply it with speed and intention, if you harness its values and embrace the potentiality of it, you will truly become a completely transformed individual by the end of our journey together. We have come together once again, and I find it to be a brilliant blessing to be a guide and one who is kind to you and yours. I do take the duty of education on my shoulders very seriously, and therefore I do a lot of extra effort in order to make sure that I can present it in a way that is palatable, digestible, absorbable. So as we dive into the second installment of our three-part series of three elements more corrosive, more destructive, more deceptive than COVID-19 or cops and their extrajudicial killings, brutality, and so forth. And again, as I stated in the very first installment, is that I genuinely feel that these elements are more deadly, more dangerous, again, more deceptive, and of course, more detrimental overall to the Black community. So when we left off last, right, we spoke about music, we spoke about the damaging effects of lyrics, of the basis of the music, that which is put over a rhythm and the rhyme that is put over the rhythm. So I want us to, harness that, and I pray that that was tabled. I pray that you have had many a conversation in the last 7 days about that, and that you have expressed how you feel, how it made you feel, and that you've embraced how others have expressed their views. And I hope that you value that they expressed that. That does not mean that you need to accept it if you don't agree with it, but I do pray that you value hearing somebody else's opinion, somebody else's point of view, because that can help to shape, soften, or harden your own point of view, and therefore give you resolve. That's where resolve comes from, right? From being certain, from ascertaining, a knowledge, coming to grips with a knowledge that you find true and valuable and applicable to you by having it put up against other values, opinions, and point of views, to realize that yours is the proper way for your success. That's very important. It's very important, and it only comes through that social interaction, through that communing, through that communicating between an individual and another, or a group of individuals. So let's not forget that. Let's not forget the lessons that were brought there. Let's harness those, and let's move forward with the positive mindset of what we're going to learn today, because it's all about mindset. Today is all about consciousness. It's about group consciousness, a unified ethos. This is something that I believe wholeheartedly in my heart, in my soul, in my mind, in my spirit, that without this, there will continuously be crumblings and fracturings in whatever movement you're part of. So when we are operating in a mind that is fragmented, separated, using different values, different intellectual and conceptual thinking processes, then you're going to get a machine that is moving in different directions, and therefore it's splitting itself apart, trying to get to those different destinations. So before we dive in too deep, let's just get to the title, the topic of the day, and that is going to be, let's just get it clear. It's going to be the corrosiveness of having a missing unified ethos to the Black community. So how is it that having a segmented or fractured or divided consciousness, how is that creating, how has that created, and how will that continue to sustain detrimental environments for the Black community, right? How will that lack of a unified ethos sap and destroy the progress of any movement, small or large, especially the Black Lives Matter movement in its current progress, process, and motivated state at this moment? So I think it's key to understand that a fist is always stronger than splayed fingers. And I want us to keep that in mind as we go through these different examples and different factors that either disintegrate a unified ethos, or what exactly we benefit from, or how we acquire more benefits or a more beneficial state of being on all levels of human consciousness through having a group consciousness. So before we jump in, of course, it's time to get to the book of the week. A very cool, very very well written. I say cool because it's enlightening. Anything that takes me to a higher level is cool to me. Cool doesn't have to be flashy colors or anything like that. So I think this book is pretty well written. It's full of knowledge and history, which of course only triples the cool factor for me. And the book that I'm speaking about is From the War on Poverty to the War on Crime. You heard me speak about it in the last installment. And it was just briefly, but these are, pieces of literature that are so important for any black and brown person that lives in the West, let alone in America, especially in America, and then I'll say, and in the West. And even for any human that lives in the West, whether you be someone who is from a community or an ethnicity that is known to perpetrate oppression, or has been, given privilege. This is a very grounding piece of literature that lets you know exactly how things have come to be. And if you pair that again with selected pieces, like I said, Michelle Alexander has a great piece. I mean, it is truly epic the way that she lays out the carceral system. So when you layer your literature in ways like that, you begin to develop a very solid point of view of exactly how the world is structured in this region on social justice issues. Since we're talking about social justice issues, it's only pertinent. It's even more important that we bring about literature that is going to give us a firm grasp on the reality that we are in. The only way that we're going to be able to move forward as healthy humans, that's why you're here at the Hueman Health Show. That's why you continuously tune in to RainerAvenueRadio.world, is so that you can receive the pertinent, applicable information in a way that is digestible, a way that you can absorb it, understand it, so that you can apply it and gain those sustainable progresses. Okay? So that's the book. Please get it. Figure out, maybe, let's say you don't want to stop purchasing whatever, one of your pleasurables is, whether that's shoes, whether that's food, whether that's, an extra tank of gas so that you can just take a trip to the mountains and go hike and then come back, whatever that is. Try to afford some cheddar for this book, or for some social justice and group conscious books, some literature that is going to get your mind around what is really going on past just hashtags, social media posts, and a quick snip from a big head on the TV screen. Okay, root yourself in firm knowledge. Root yourself in the way that society is built now, 50, 100, 200 years ago. Okay, that's how you're going to get a firm grasp. And again, like I said, if you're not willing to give up those pleasurables all the way, whether it be, jewelry or fashion or, a dessert or pizza night or something, then gather, which would make this much easier, gather a group of individuals that you find to have capable minds, that you find to want to be grounded. Gather them together and everybody puts $5 in the hat for the book. You meet up each week and you read the book, or you get on Zoom or any platform where you can video call or even three-way call like we used to do when phones were plugged into the wall. And just three-way call each other, and then somebody is reading aloud the book, one chapter, and then you guys discuss the chapter, and then one day on the weekend you meet up, and then you pass the book around, and then you read the book that way. Okay? Find a way to not allow barriers to be in the way of your sustainable progress, okay? And that means getting together with a group of individuals who are willing to work together to be a collective unit in order to get more progress and to sustain that progress for generations to come. It always is going to return back to, what am I doing for those who come after me? Because I am only able, Ubuntu, I am only able because others have come before me to provide a foundation for me to stand on, okay? So let us not forget that. Let's be firm in the principles of knowledge, of gaining knowledge that is beneficial, not just random bits of knowledge, but knowledge that we can put into work and see the benefit and fruits of that labor. So let's get into it. Why is today's topic relevant for re-examination? Well, we are living in a time where a lot of our people are doing their own thing. Okay, there's a lot of opinions. Everybody has an opinion at this moment about what's going on and why it's going on, but a lot of those opinions are not rooted in facts. They're not rooted in genuine history, right? They're based upon the way people feel, the way that other people's actions make them feel. And I'm not discounting people's feelings, but when we are talking about a macro group consciousness, right? We are millions. We are a very large group of people. my black brothers and sisters, we are a very large group of people. So we must understand that to move a large group of people forward, there must be a unified mentality. There must be a group consciousness that is governed upon certain skills being applied in certain ways, certain histories being absorbed and passed down, certain ways of conduct, whether it be socializing, economics, or education, these things being rooted firmly in that which works. Okay, there's a reason that the study of anthropology exists. It's to understand how different civilizations, cultures, ethnicities became what they are, became successful to the point that they are worth studying. It baffles me oftentimes how often people say, these different theories about how ancient civilizations built these massive structures as if their mind wasn't the similar mind that we had, as if we are capable now with the machines and mechanisms that we have to be able to build some of those structures. We're not. So it just, it baffles me that people aren't a bit more interested in the history of where we come from and how we've gotten to this point. We come from a land, my black brothers and sisters, where we have not only monumental structures built, but the way in which the architecture was aligned with the galaxy, with the heavens. That takes immense mathematical prowess, okay? Not just basic arithmetic understanding, not just financial understandings of how to add 1 with 1 or divide 10 by 5. I'm speaking about precise calculations on a very large scale. We're talking about Earth on a scale sized down and yet precisely aligned with bodies, celestial bodies that are light years away. That is enough to compel you as a human who is being oppressed to find out how that was possible. Who are the Dogon? What are the Mali so known for, right? What really is the Zulu nation? Okay, these are things that we have to dive into because there's power there, and there's latent power there. And latent means it's lying dormant. It's not awakened. It's there waiting to be discovered. And as I say at the beginning of every episode of the Hueman Health Show, it is waiting to be embraced and harnessed, right? There is knowledge all about the world, and that knowledge can bring you so many different blessings and benefits and gains and flourishings. And we must understand that knowledge is a lost treasure. Okay? So in order to build a holistic enhancement of your life, in order to be able to build a group consciousness, we have to begin to discover the knowledge that is dispersed upon the land from history, Okay? It is important because we can only move forward by knowing where we come from, how we got there, how we got here, and develop those different mechanisms, modes, tools, and so forth to be able to move us forward to where we want to go. So that is the key to why we are discussing today. That is key why me as an educator, as the holistic performance enhancement specialist, that does not just mean that I'm helping people get, more muscular, for them to achieve hypertrophy, which is the growth of muscle, for them to be able to have a faster mile or 5-mile time. It's not just for me to help people get in line with their nutrition. It is also mental fitness. This is also like conscious CrossFit. Okay, I want people to understand that it all begins with your mindset. When you wake up in the morning, before you even go hydrate, which is the most important thing, your first thing is to have a positive and strong mindset, right? And that takes more dedication than it does to wake up every day and do a kettlebell workout, go run 3 miles, or go do a stair workout. Whether you're paying for it or whether you're coming out for free for Friday night flights, it's important that you understand that a strong mindset, an elevated consciousness is going to carry you through a lot of endeavors where your physical or your masculinity or femininity, or even possibly your social maneuverings are not going to be able to lead you to that success. So what are the peg points of a unified ethos, right? What constitutes a unified ethos? What holds it in place? If you think of peg points, right? If I have a floating sheet, right? Or no, better yet, if we're camping and I'm setting up my tent, right? I've got my flat land, right? I've laid down my footprint, my tarp, right? How am I going to get that tarp to stay in place? I need stakes, right? I need stakes, also known as pegs, right? I need to plant those pegs directly into that firm earth so that my foundation, that my spread, my protection that I'm going to build on top of is solid and it's in place and it's firm and it's steady. That is of the utmost importance. So the peg points of a group consciousness, the peg points of a unified ethos are always going to begin with what we've already discussed, a firm grasp upon the knowledge that is surrounding the area that you need to advance. Excuse me. So knowledge is a root of power. Knowledge is not power. It is the root to power. Okay, and I mean the root, meaning the base, the bulb, the bud, right? The bulb that shoots the stem up, right? Not the root, like the route. Okay, the route is work. The route is what you're doing with the knowledge to create wisdom, to understand the best way to apply said knowledge to get the best result continuously, consistently, sustainably, right? After knowledge, and not to slide over knowledge like that, but we know how foundational knowledge is, so we will come back to that continuously. What you must layer on top of knowledge, because it is not just knowing, you see, what is going to move you forward. It takes action to put that knowledge into work. And even more important than that, it takes very different, a high level of diverse actions to be able to put a macro consciousness on the playing field in a successful sort of manner, right? So if we have the right skills to do the discourse, are we able to meet up? Are we able to meet up with our peers and hold the discourse, hold the conversation, have a deep dialogue about what needs to happen, figure out what opinions are based on emotion and which points of view are based upon logic, based upon fact, based upon the essence that comes with humanity. Are we able to sit down for 4 hours? Are we able to meet up in the morning before the rest of the workday needs to get implemented? Are we able to do that? That is a skill set. And if we're not able to do that, we need to go into the school of skills. We do need to go into the field of learning how to acquire the skills of sitting down, staying on task, staying on the topic, being able to see through all of the fluff and get to the base of it, do a root cause analysis and develop strategies and solutions off of that, right? This is not something that comes flyby. This is not something that is distributed in the education system here of how to genuinely stay on task and genuinely get the work done for something that is meant for self. Okay? I need you to understand that. I need you to harness that. Because then once you embrace it and empower yourself with that, you're able to move forward because you're aware that it's not somebody else doing it for you, somebody else preparing the arena for you. It's up to you and yours to develop the arena which you plan to conquer, right? That you plan to build multiple championships within, right? That you plan to build a dynasty off of, right? Something that is forward moving, continuously progressive, right? It's important that you understand that you have the power, right? And that the skills must be of a diverse nature so that when the time comes to hold the discourse, when the time comes to put it into, a physical means of getting that out into the community, taking idea and vision into physical application and being able to disperse that and teach that and guide with that and use that as an agenda and use that as course material. Right? Being able to come together with your fellow business owners, being able to come together with your fellow mothers, your fellow fathers, and figure out what is the best way to make sure that our businesses are helping one another and continuously progressive. What is it that we can do as parents to make sure that we are continuously coming together, making sure that our children are falling into the pitfalls, that they are not becoming disconnected from nature or disassociated from their culture, the real culture, the historic culture, the one that is found in African anthropology by African anthropologists, right? Not the culture that's been sold to us. Not the culture that we spoke about last week that has to do with misogynistic music, drug addiction music, tyrannical music, oppressive music, right? No, not that. Not that. So we, with the knowledge, with the understanding that we need a diverse platform of skills for each and every person to be able to utilize and maximize in different directions. But in addition to that, well, not in addition to that, what that then creates is that beginning, those first steps, those first baby steps, those first directional steps, right? We've now created a direction because the knowledge has built up, a desire for more, a desire for that which the human is capable of. And then the skill sets show how that knowledge can be applied to the world to bring about a better change, a better reality, a more comforting reality, a more fertile space for you to blossom and for your loved ones to blossom, right? Now we have a direction with those because we realize from the beauty of the knowledge and the maximization of the application of that knowledge, we are now moving in a positive direction. We're now moving in a positive direction. That gives us a sense of purpose, and by far above all else, the most important thing, and this is how it becomes a cyclical entity. It begins to cycle unto itself. It begins to become like the recycle cycle. You see? Because once you have a sense of purpose, you double down and care for your craft, and you create a whole nother cycle of gaining new knowledge, gaining new ways to apply that knowledge, gaining new direction with that, and then developing a completely new set of senses of purpose, right? So very, very, very important that we understand the pegs of group consciousness, because once we understand them, we'll want to pursue them. And once we want to pursue them, we'll begin to call others with that same vibration, because our vibe will always attract our tribe. Our vibe will always attract our tribe. And in order to continuously move forward on issues that are larger than life, larger than any one of us, larger than anything we could leave behind, the issue will always be larger than that. So we must understand that we need allies. We need strong allies. And we're going to speak about how we can get strong allies and how we can avoid things that disintegrate the unified ethos, the factors that falsify a unified group consciousness, that falsify African consciousness. That's a book that we'll be speaking about next week, again by Amos Wilson, The Falsification of African Consciousness. It is very beautifully put, describing again how things like what is described in From the War on Poverty to the War on Crime, how those develop into what we see now as black on black violence, poverty, the negative stereotypes and the reporting upon the black community of what the negatives are, what the holding backs are, right? What the shortcomings are, what the pitfalls are of the black community, right? So we want to speak about that, but we also want to understand how those root causes of things like black on black violence are rooted in white on black violence and white on black gerrymandering and the maneuvering of districts and the gentrification, and how all of that affects a consciousness and can genuinely disintegrate a community. So we're going to get back to that. I will be back in just a few minutes, take a few words from my station, get a cup of water, come back hydrated. We're going to continue.